Okay, first of all the respect in the world to a Funky Diabetic for being the originator of this idea. I have Funky listed in my featured channels for a reason, so yeah. The Role Player All-Stars. As a casual NBA fan, you would only really care about big names. Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul, Isaiah Thomas. But as an NBA superfan, and a self-proclaimed basketball nerd, like 5 out of my 10 favorite players have never even smelled an All-Star appearance. So I'm going to assemble their own version of an All-Star team made up of purely role players. One quick ground rule, I would define a role player as someone you could see as a bench player. For example, Nicholas Batum, I'd love to have him on this list, but he seems like he's in a higher tier than a role player. I could never see him as a bench player. Same goes for Serge Ibaka. I couldn't see him as someone you play off of the bench. Even though he's not a star, he's not really a role player either. So with that out of the way, for the starting point guard spot, at point, Patrick Beverley. Beverley is a lockdown defender, one of the best in the NBA. And on offense, he's a solid playmaker and he's a really good shooter. So he can play on and off ball. And then on the other side, he can lock down the opposition's point guard or shooting guard. At the 2, I'm going with Avery Bradley. Avery is just as good defensively, and maybe even better, and he's definitely better offensively. Avery is a shooter who shot 39% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. He's also decent at creating for himself, as his pull-up jumper is pretty reliable as well. At the 3 spot, this one's a given, Andre Iguodala. Again, lockdown defender, and he's an amazing athlete, as well as solid offensively. Andre is more of a team player though. He really fits well in Golden State's system, and he's incredibly valuable for them. At the 4, JaMychal Green. Now, Green is actually still a restricted free agent. I don't know why, but no one signed him. Green is an awesome defender. He can switch onto guards and hold his own, and he can also block shots and defend post-up players. And offensively, he has a very reliable mid-range shot, and he can stretch it out to the three-point line as he shot 38% from 3 on 2 attempts per game. And he also has a really solid post hook that you can go to if your offense is going nowhere. So JaMychal provides versatility offensively and defensively. At the 5, Steven Adams from the Thunder. Steven Adams is pretty much everything you want from a defensive center. Steven is a great shot blocker, but he can switch on defense, and he's just a strong, tough guy who isn't going to give up on both sides. And on offense, he's great in the pick and roll, he sets good screens, and he can post up every once in a while. Now for the bench, at the 1, Darren Collison. Darren is what you would call a jack of all trades, but a master of none. So basically, he's good at everything, but not great at anything. He's a good shooter, a good playmaker, a good defender, and a good scorer, but again, he's nothing special in any of those areas. At the 2, JJ Redick. He would be starting on this All-Star team if he could lock down like Avery Bradley. But JJ, in my opinion, is the 3rd best shooter in the NBA behind the Splash Brothers. JJ is a high-volume shooter who I'm pretty sure spends 90% of his time on offense running around screens. And defensively, like I said, he's nowhere near lockdown, but he isn't bad, which as a 6'4" white guy with little athleticism and an average build, it's pretty unexpected. He seems like the type of guy that would be bad defensively, but he's not. At the 3, I really struggled here for the backup. It was between Wilson Chandler, Jay Crowder, and Danilo Gallinari. And I'm going to go with Jay Crowder because he's a really good defender, which I've said about 1,000 times in this video. And offensively, he can play the 3 or 4. And he's a solid shooter and player in a system. At the 4, Taj Gibson. I never realized just how much I liked Taj until he was traded from my Bulls. Taj is a great defensive player. Not great on switches, but not awful. And of course, he's always liable to block a shot. And offensively, he has a fairly polished post game, and his mid-range jumper is pretty reliable. And for the backup 5, I'm going to go with Robin Lopez from the Bulls. Now, at first, I really didn't like Lopez, as he started the season off pretty terribly. But as the season went on, his defense improved, and his mid-range jumper as well as his post hook started to go in. The only problem with Lopez isn't really his fault, but it's that the Bulls, for whatever reason, seem to treat him like he's an offensive option. So on another team as a backup, Lopez would be amazing. And for the final 3 roster spots, I'm going to go with 1 guard, 1 wing, and 1 big. For the guard, I'm going with Corey Joseph, the one player in NBA history who left the Spurs and actually became a better player. Joseph is similar to Collison, jack of all trades, master of none, but he did take a big step offensively this season as he added a 3-point shot, which he has been missing in his arsenal. He shot 36% from downtown on 2 attempts per game, which is 10% better than he shot last year. For the wing, I'm going to go with Wilson Chandler over Danilo Gallinari because Wilson puts up 4 less points per game, but he is insanely better defensively, and he plays very well in a system while Gallo tries to be the guy when he really isn't. And for the big, I'm going to go with Marvin Williams, the power forward from the Hornets. Marvin can shoot the 3, sometimes put the ball on the floor and create, and defensively he can switch on to guards. That's the end of this list. I'm pretty sure that this team would be a defensive juggernaut that can't score because no one is great at creating. Anyways, let me know what your role player all-star team would be in the comments. And that's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more daily NBA videos like this, and cue the outro music.
I dare you play your cards, boy, you bet I'm a trendsetter too. Fire when you're strong, it's you.
That's it, Brian?